David Quigley here, and today I'd like to introduce you to a special friend of mine. This is Little Quiggles. That's right, Little Quiggles is just a little boy, and he's kind of shy, but today he's pretty excited about meeting everybody here. Because today we're going to be talking about the inner child and why it's important that we pay attention to that child. You see, you might easily think of this little stuffed animal and me holding a little inner child as being kind of a silly and childish thing to do, and I guess I have to agree it is. I don't know too many PhDs that would do this in front of a classroom, but I do because I don't have a PhD. Instead, what I have is a technology for healing ourselves that is matched by none other in this world. You see, Little Quiggles, he didn't have an easy childhood. He had, like so many of the clients I see, he had a very difficult time. In fact, when he was first born, it was in a war zone. We were fleeing from China, and my little boy was very sick, and so was my mother, who could not take care of me. So oftentimes we were starving, as the boat we were in went through some terrible storms. My mother was very sick. My older brother, who was 2 years older than me, was getting all the attention, and worst of all, my mother was pregnant with my little sister. So life was extremely difficult for me as an infant, and I quickly realized there was never going to be any love for me. This became especially clear when my mother brought home my little sister from the hospital when I was only 1 year old. On my first birthday, the present I got was a little sister. But for me, the other present, the real present, was the despair of knowing that no one would ever love me. It was too late. Meanwhile, my parents, over the years, while they both, for the record, were very loving people who actually loved their children and wanted their children very much, and unlike so many parents I deal with in my clients' worlds, they loved me, but they didn't know how to take care of their kids. They didn't know what to do. My parents' idea of parenting had more to do with shaming their children on a daily basis and finding criticism wherever they could to try to make us children improve. The idea was you don't compliment your children. That'll make them egotistical. That'll make them self-important. Instead, you just continue to tear down everything they do wrong day after day. Now, I'll be honest, there weren't any real horrible traumas down there other than these. I wasn't sexually abused. I wasn't sold into slavery, thank God. But there was enough there of abuse and neglect, including my father's occasional violence, that forced me to retreat from my authentic self, forced me to hide, and to live in a state of suicidal despair. I literally had no goal in life other than suicide during my junior high and high school years. I was shrunk up deep inside of myself. And the problem was that I was trying to be a grown-up. After all, I went to college at Duke University, and I was very intelligent, but I couldn't get along with other people. I didn't know how to talk, especially not to girls. I didn't know how to talk to them. And I knew that I was just a loser that nobody would ever want or no one would ever love. My parents had made that very clear to me. But somehow, just a year before I was going to kill myself, that was the age of 20. I was going to do myself in at 21. But during that mysterious time, I had a very powerful mystical experience in which a beautiful angel of a woman descended to me and said, "You're not really a grown man. You're just a baby, and I want to take care of you. I want to love you." And she did. And soon she introduced me to a new inner father that was going to help her to take care of me. And this is long before John Bradshaw wrote his books, his life-defining books. So, and I thought that, quite frankly, being a victim of all of this childhood abuse, I had no idea what it meant to get a new family and a new childhood. So they had to take me from square one, and my inner mother had to hold me in her arms and show me what it felt like to nurse at her breast. And my inner father took me by the hand and showed me that it was okay for me to be something other than a Christian minister, which was all my father ever wanted me to be. My inner father opened the doors for me into a whole world of exciting careers and possibilities. In fact, my inner father, who you may know as King Arthur of the Round Table, my inner father was the great teacher who inspired me to become the alchemist and the spiritual teacher I am today. And my inner mother gave me the confidence to reach out for love so that I could find a happy family for my life. And I'd have to say that without their help, I couldn't have accomplished any of this. I would have been dead a long time ago. Well, it was at the age of 27 that my inner mother said to me very clearly that now you have the task of bringing this powerful modality of healing, the inner family, to the world. And I had some great help from guys like John Bradshaw, Charles Whitworth, and others who helped forge for me an understanding of how important this work was and how universal. This wasn't David Quigley's own personal neurosis, it turns out, but rather it is a powerful new technology of healing in which we give that little child the love they've always needed every single day with a loving father and a loving mother. To counter-program your subconscious mind, to remove all the old programmings of shame, inadequacy, wrongness, guilt, and replace those with the experience of being loved and appreciated and approved of. When my father, Richard Jackson, would say to me, what are you going to be, a minister or a ditch digger? It was my inner father who said to me, my son, I am proud of your becoming an alchemist, a hypnotist, a healer. And when my real father said, the law is going to catch up with you for doing this stuff, my inner father was there to say, I will give you strength until the law is on our side. This is exactly what the inner parents do. Now, there's a popular form of therapy out there called cognitive behavioral therapy. You may have heard of it. Cognitive therapy, the idea is you talk to yourself in a different voice. You listen to the stupid things you're telling yourself and you vow to make different comments to yourself. What cognitive behavior doesn't usually acknowledge is that these are not voices you made up. They're voices your parents programmed you with, along with other important people in your past. The person with a cognitive problem is not just accidentally stuck in a rut of I'm no good. No, they got this way because their parents put them there, along with maybe other relatives, ex-wives, bosses, who else. But there's a rut here, mostly from the parents, where we repeat to ourselves over and over, I'm no good, I'm no good. Now, we can use cognitive therapy to come up with some great new words. I'm a good person. And gosh darn, I like myself. But these have so little effectiveness compared to what a loving father and mother would say to us. When my father's voice says, son, I'm proud of your work as an alchemist, that means 1,000 times more than me looking in the mirror and saying, I like myself. Because it's working with human instinct. And we humans, we need a mom and we need a dad. And that's why emotional clearing therapy, where we love and nurture our child and teach our child to grow up properly, to grow up with self-esteem and confidence. Why this is so important in today's world where parenting is becoming more and more problematic. Even parents who mean well and are trying to do the best they can are often oppressed by the financial and spiritual circumstances of the life and the culture we live. The child needs that love more than ever. When are we going to give your child that love? Those loving parents they've always needed. And whether your problem is overweight, whether it's cigarettes, whether it's alcohol, whether it's anxiety, whether it's cancer, almost all of these conditions can be improved when you have a loving family in your heart and on your side. That's what you need to solve your problems. It certainly solved mine.